Hi everyone, Sid Walker here. Today we are going to talk about how to break through call reluctance in a few hours. All right, you may not believe me, but it's actually true. It's possible. All right, so I've been a peak performance coach, sales coach actually, for 40 years with over 5,000 coaching clients. My main focus at this point in my career is to help people overcome their sales call reluctance. I have a free school, that's SKOOL, called Fearless Prospecting Group, that's mentioned below. This is my formerly $1,000 5.5 hour internet course that I created 2 years ago. So it's my latest and greatest material. And the fastest way to that website is fearlessprospecting.net. And that's also below. Okay. So go to the free school, click on join, and step 2, there's free stuff. So click on that, or it says read more, and you can download the first 30 pages of my Amazon bestseller called How I Conquered Call Reluctance. And there's another item on action quotes that's really good there. All right, and you can see all my websites at sidwalker.com. That's kind of a reference website. I just did that last summer. I've got 7 websites. Some of them are books, but anyway, you can see all of what I'm doing there. And then when you join the school, very important, I offer a 15-minute strategy call to help you get started. We'll talk about what's in the way, and I'll give you some ideas on, how to overcome the barriers that are in the way. All right, so join the school and sign up for the free call. All right, so let's talk about how to break through your call reluctance and do it in just a few hours. Here's what you have to be able to do. The most important first step is to decide to do something. Sounds pretty simple. Okay. Do something about dealing with your call reluctance. I mean, most people put this off indefinitely. Okay. Your ego hates doing anything outside your comfort zone. It hates risk. It hates rejection. It hates the unknown. Your ego wants to get everything perfect before it takes any risks. I'm sure you've experienced that. Of course, this is an impossibility, and it's a trick of the ego to keep you stuck. Okay. It's more important to make prospecting calls than it is to do them perfectly. One of my favorite sayings on the topic is you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Okay, how's that for a sense of freedom? Also, I like to say the only way that you can fail at prospecting is not to do it. Yeah, even if you're not that good at it, it still works. There are plenty of people in sales, and you know them. They're okay on the phone. They're not great, but the fact that they make a lot of calls, they make a lot of money. Okay, and the other way to say it is the only way to break through your call reluctance is to be willing to take action without knowing exactly what you're going to do or how each call will go. I mean, there's an unknown factor you can't get rid of. Okay, and your ego hates that. Your ego will do anything to avoid the unknown. All right. So you have to trust your intuitive instincts that they will guide you to success. Your intuition is thousands of times smarter than your ego will ever be. Let me say it again. Your intuition is thousands of times smarter than your ego combined with your intellect will ever be. Okay. Most people don't know that. We've all been trained to use the intellect for everything. Dumbest, slowest part of the brain. So you got the dumbest, slowest part of the brain, best friends with the source of all negativity. What could go wrong? a lot goes wrong. All right. So the other big problem is that the ego uses your intellect to make logical reasons, to make up logical reasons not to prospect. Okay. So, the way we're programmed, we're programmed to have call reluctance is totally normal. Okay. And the good news is you can fix it. The other big problem, well, let me say it this way. So contrary to the conventional wisdom, making prospecting calls is not just about trying to sell somebody something or talk them into something. The most important part of prospecting is to find out if there's an interest in what you're offering. All right, that's a paradigm shift from what a lot of people have learned. But I found that's by far the most effective. If you're making phone calls, you're making a lot of calls. Look for interest. Trying to sell people stuff is too much work. It's too slow. And if they're not interested, it's not going to happen anyway. I have a photograph I got off the internet. Shows a guy panning for gold with a big chunk of gold in his hand, and then there's a few rocks and some water in the pan. But anyway, it's a great photo. But to me it says it's the essence or the kind of the mantra or the motto of my approach here is you're looking for gold. Don't try to turn rocks into gold. Okay? It's too much work. Believe me. All right. I've been a sales coach for 50 years. I teach people how to help people solve problems, and you make way more money. You make way more sales doing that than you do trying to talk people into stuff. All right. So my attitude is if the prospect doesn't show interest relatively quickly, you're usually wasting your time. It's better to use your time and energy to end the call and make a new one. So, as like I said, trying to talk people into things takes a lot of time and energy. And I would say, use that same energy to make 10 more calls. You're way more likely to get an appointment or even make a sale, whatever you're doing. And the other way to say this, interested people are 10 times more likely to buy something than people that aren't. Okay. That's where they're trying to get people, talking people into getting interested in something that they're not interested in. It's just, major amount of work. Anyway, you get the idea. There's an old saying called "Get 3 no's." A lot of my clients are financial advisors. It's pretty famous in that business. In other words, you don't give up pitching people on what you're doing until you get no at least 3 times. My response to that is the title of one of my favorite old country western songs. What part of no don't you understand? Okay. No doesn't always mean no. Sometimes it means not now. Okay. Or, get back to me. Bad timing. Doesn't mean no forever. But anyway, you got to be able to figure that out. All right. So let's get back to, how to overcome call reluctance in a few hours. So number one thing, you got to reprogram how you think about prospecting. That's probably, a big one. That's step one. You've got to change all your negative thoughts related to prospecting. Take all the reasons why you don't want to prospect and you turn them into reasons why you do want to prospect. Okay, very few people do that. They don't even know how to do it. And that's all in the course. So you have to learn to be ruthless about not negatively judging prospecting at any time, before, during, or after. Okay, that means never. All right, because if you judge prospecting, you're going to stop doing it, especially on the phone. If you're negatively judging prospecting, you will all of a sudden find yourself doing something else and you won't even notice it. Your ego is powerful. It'll slip you right into doing something else and you won't even know what happened. All right. And you have to learn to protect yourself from negative thoughts, as you begin to dial the phone. Because your ego is going to keep firing negative thoughts, at you, to get you to stop prospecting and do something else like I just described. So you have to learn what it feels like to be mentally aware of following your instincts. Because you're not, you have to follow what feels right in the moment and stop thinking, basically. And to stop thinking means to stop trying to remember what to do or say, or to stop negatively judging whatever's happening. Thinking is analyzing, trying to figure things out with linear logic. That leads to negative thoughts in seconds. Okay, that's the way we're programmed. We go right to go to critical judgment. Okay, so negative judgments lead to reasons not to prospect, which will get you doing something else in seconds. All right. And it'll feel totally logical because that's what the ego uses, logical reasons to not do things. You have to have guts to dial the phone. There's no way around that. I tell people if you can jump into a cold swimming pool, you can do this. You realize it's not that hard. It's not that much harder. Anybody can jump into a cold swimming pool. You just have to have the guts to do it. All right. So being a good prospector requires some reckless abandon, I like to call it, and an ability not to think about what could happen. I mean, not thinking or negatively judging means no fear, no doubt, no worry, no anxiety. That's one of my favorite warm-ups is dial, don't think. If I don't think, I can call anybody and I can keep doing it. But I can't think. If I start to judge prospecting, I'm going to stop doing it. Thoughts lead to feelings. If you don't give your ego's negative thoughts any energy, you can do anything, literally anything. I mean, that dissipates fear. That makes you fearless, and that's the breakthrough discipline. Really, that's why I call my course Fearless Prospecting. Fear is an interesting thing. Sometimes it's a motivator. One of my mentors taught me years ago. Never let your fear keep you from doing what you want to do. Just take it with you. Okay. So there are a lot of ways to deal with fear, but ideally you want to get to the point where you've dissipated it so much, or you've experienced it to the degree it's just gone. Okay. And that happens on the phone. You can do that. I mean, I've done it and I've helped thousands of people do it. All right. Another thing that can happen that creates negative thoughts is you get a prospect who's giving you a hard time or just, not anybody you want to talk to. I'll be nice. Okay. So anyway, you don't want to say to them, you don't want to talk to them anymore. I'm alluding to another thought there, which is if something positive isn't happening in the first 15 seconds, get on to the next call. Okay. So you need a way to get off the phone if you don't like what's happening. So like I said, you don't want to tell people you don't want to talk to them anymore. So you've got to create an excuse to get off the phone. I have several approaches to that situation. A couple of them are hilarious. I'll give this one's the one most people like. They're all in the course, by the way. One of my favorites is, oh my God, the FedEx guy's here. I've got to go sign for a package. Let me get right back to you. Then hang up. Okay. Nobody's going to call you back. I wonder where you are. So anyway, all right. And you need phone language that is short and to the point. You don't need scripts. You have 15 seconds to get people to respond with one or two responses. It's either I'm not interested or tell me more. It's that simple. Okay. You don't have time for any kind of long educational process. That's not going to happen. That's the illusion that you're going to somehow sell people into an appointment. You're looking, is there interest or is there not interest? And then you basically decide there. Because if somebody says, tell me more, then you can have all of the follow-up conversations you want to have. I usually tell people don't script any of that. You script the first 15 words. Okay, you're going to be starting with your biggest benefit. There's a module on that, and there's a classroom on that in the course. But then once you've done those first 15 words or so, you're really asking, are you interested, or give them the chance to say, tell me more. All right. Because the thing about a script, and I talk to people about it all the time. Some people have just extensive scripts, but that puts people to sleep. If you're reading a script, you're trying to remember what you're saying, or remember what to do next. And that pretty much means you're in your head. That's not as fun. That's not as interesting to people. They want to be with somebody real and in the moment. Okay. Like I said, it's okay to script the first couple sentences or questions or whatever your pitch is, but that's quick. And the reason you script that is you just want to get it really good, and you want to be really good at it. And something short doesn't matter. You can script that. But you don't want to keep going after that. People can tell that you're reading, because you're not there. You're not totally there. All right. So here's the reality. If you do everything I've described so far, you can break through your call reluctance in a few hours or less. Okay. The problem is, this is really hard to do on your own and relatively easy if you hire a skilled coach to walk you through the process. And the reason it's, really hard to do on your own is the ego. Your ego is the most powerful part of your brain. And it hates risk, it hates rejection, hates the unknown. It will do anything to keep you off the phone. People think there's something wrong with them. There's not. You're listening to a part of your brain that is basically a self-sabotage machine, and it hates risk of any kind. It wants to keep you in your comfort zone. And if you try to get out of your comfort zone, your ego's going to let you know. It's going to machine gun any idea outside with negative thoughts. Okay. All right. So the key is gentle accountability. I mean, that guarantees a breakthrough, and the only way you can get that is with a coach. I mean, some people have call partners or do group call sessions. I mean, some of that's good stuff for sure, but it's not as powerful as having a partner coach that knows this process. I am uniquely qualified to help you break through your call reluctance. I've been a coach for 50 years, as I mentioned. I broke through my own call reluctance after putting it off for 20 years, no kidding, from age 25 to 45. I figured that cost me $5 million. Okay. I mean, I made a decent living, but I could have easily made twice as much, if I'd made a few more phone calls every week. So that's another story for another time. But anyway, that's $5 million is a lot of money, and I'm 75. I'd love to have that money right now. Okay. All right, so I've successfully coached thousands of people, every product and service you can imagine. I'm the only guy with an internet course. That's, like I said, that's my $1,000 course I did 2 years ago, and I've got the top book on Amazon. It's considered an Amazon bestseller, and it's got the most testimonials, the highest ranking, whatever all that stuff is. So, people love the book. Check that out. It's also on Audible in my voice. All right. And my experience is that most coaches, they're well-meaning. They all have an opinion, but most don't have the experience, and they've never had the experience of actually helping someone through the process to have a breakthrough. Okay. They're just making stuff up, based on, their own linear logic and, what makes sense. There's a lot of platitudes out there, One of my favorites is just make more calls. Your call reluctance will go away. For some people that actually works, but most people it doesn't. If you're one of the lucky ones, that works. All right, so this process can go relatively fast. I can usually help people create a major breakthrough in a few hours. That's why I'm saying, you can do it in a few hours, literally. The first step is to make it more safe and make it more fun to get on the phone. There's some preparation there. You've got to learn to think differently. You got to reprogram how you think about prospecting. There's 400 warm-ups in the course. Check those out. There's, I had somebody recently. They recorded all 400 and then they listened to them. I thought that was genius. I'll probably get around to doing that myself. But anyway. Pick 10 or 15 at least and memorize them, or if you want to be more ambitious, you can record them all in your own voice. I guarantee you, if you listen to 400 warm-ups, you're going to be in a different state of mind. Okay, that's what happened to my client. He just said it's amazing what happened to him. All right, so again, we're trying to get ready. We're trying to get it safe, more fun, and get the fears and anxiety down to a dull roar. Okay, so that they're still there. They're, the little anticipation, but you get to the point there where it can't stop you. And on that topic, one of the quickest ways that I help people break through is to get on the phone with them. Okay, I don't say anything, but we make an appointment to say, all right, at such and such time, we're going to get on the phone together and make calls. Okay, that's hard to get out of. I even have people that, they'll go, oh my God, because now they're face to face with it. I mean, some people actually get on the phone just to avoid getting on the phone with me. Okay, that works too. But anyway, everybody that gets on the phone with me, I'm very encouraging and positive, and before you know it, most people in a couple hours, they just say, my fear is pretty much gone. Okay. because the more you can experience something, the more it goes away. And if you're not prepared to do that in a certain way, I mean, you can keep. That's why I mentioned, make more calls. Your fear will go away. That does work for some people, but most people never get in the right state of mind to just experience the fear. Because if you can experience something, it disappears. Okay, that's the good news. But there's ways to goof that up if you're doing it on your own. That's the problem. All right. So again, the results of getting on the phone together can be somewhat miraculous and quick. And that leads to a breakthrough. That's our goal. All right. So the second step is to develop consistency. It's way easier to make a few calls every day, than it is to think you're going to set aside a couple hours and all of a sudden just make calls. That's an ego trick. Okay. All the grandiose thoughts. I mean, every day somebody tells me about all the planning they're doing to get on the phone, and then it comes time to get on the phone and they can't do it. Okay. And they plan for hours. That makes you feel good that you're doing something, but it's not making calls. The net effect is zero there. So anyway, the ego trick, to think that you're going to make calls all of a sudden on Friday for 2 hours, that rarely happens. Not saying it's impossible, but almost. Okay. And then the third step is to lock into your experience successfully making calls so that you don't need me. All right, I'm really good at that. I'm really good at locking it in. And interestingly, even though I get people to the place fairly quickly where they don't need me, I have a lot of clients that do the initial program, and they'll keep me around for many years after that. I actually had 2 guys this year sign up. This is the 31st year in a row they've paid me an annual fee. 31 years. So these guys are geniuses at what they're doing. I'm not coaching them on their job. They're hiring me for one reason: to keep the ego out of the way and to keep them in the zone, being at their best. Okay, I'm really a peak performance coach. So I get people that will hire me for years just to do that. Call reluctance is, I'm really good at interviewing. Most of my clients are financial advisors, so I'm really good at interviewing for intangible products. And then I'm really good at the call reluctance. Those are my 2 big skills. All right. So back to the, I guess one more comment on the ego. I mean, it's really powerful. I mean, way more so than you realize. People say to me all the time, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I figure this out? Why is it so hard? And I mean, one way to describe it, one of my favorite authors says that the mantra or the mission of the ego, you ready for this, is seek and do not find. Seek and do not find. The part of your brain, or a part of your brain that you've been listening to since you were a little kid, because that ego starts to get formed when we're really young. So that voice has been talking to you all your life. And the goal of that ego is it doesn't want anything to change. It doesn't want you to make any change in any big way, no matter what. And it wants to hold you back from that. So bottom line, it's a built-in self-sabotage machine. Seek and do not find. So I tell people that's why life feels insane at times. Okay, you've got a part of your brain you think knows what it's doing, has no intention of anything changing, or it doesn't want to anyway. All right, so as I mentioned, unfortunately, the ego never goes away, no matter how successful you become. That's why I get people that hire me for years at a time. I could tell you some great stories of people making $1 million a year that I have to talk them off the ledge because too many negative things have happened and they've just kind of lost it. Okay, that happens to people no matter how much money you're making. All right. And you can control the negative effects of the ego. That's really what we're trying to do. And the quickest way to learn it is have the gentle accountability of a coach. I mean, you can learn it on your own. I did, for sure. But, I've been a coach for 50 years. When you're coaching all the time, you're constantly learning stuff. And I'd already addressed a lot of my call reluctance to a certain point. So I could get on the phone and do really well. But what I would do is I'd get on the phone, get a bunch of business, and then I'd wait until that business ran out, until my back was against the wall, and then I'd get on the phone again. I did that for 20 years, and that cost me a fortune. So that's another variation of call reluctance, how it can get in the way. All right. So two things happen with a skilled coach. Just to kind of give you a summary here, you've got a partner that can keep talking you out of the idiotic beliefs of the ego. Okay, and second, you have the slight edge that you need to take action, because that's the thing the ego doesn't like. It doesn't want to take action. You can think about it all day. You can plan as much as you want. Your ego loves that stuff because you're not taking any risks. So, and then, left on your own, most people put off dealing with these issues for years if they ever deal with it at all, and they just learn to live with less income. Okay, you don't need to do that, folks. Like I said, I think I said earlier, people think there's something wrong with them. There's not. You can learn to not listen to the part of your brain that's a self-sabotage machine. All right, well, it doesn't cost anything to talk about what you're up against and how to deal with it. Once I know more about your situation, I can put together a coaching package that I think will work. And, everyone's different. Some people need more time than others to break through. Either way, it'll cost you way less to get some help than it does to put off the issue. That's your ego doesn't want to hire a coach. Your ego doesn't want to make any change. Your ego does not want me around. I'm going to teach you how to ignore your ego. Okay, so it's an interesting process to be involved in. I've been doing it forever. So again, I've created a free school called Fearless Prospecting Group to help you break through. The goal is to make more money and experience more self-fulfillment, greater peace of mind, and you can do all that if you learn to think differently. So click the link in the description below to join. And if you're committed to dealing with the issue once and for all, and want to spend as little time creating a breakthrough, we should talk. So join the school. Check that out, and then there's plenty of links in there to schedule book a 15-minute call with me. I don't think I've ever done a 15-minute call, by the way. they go a little longer, but anyway, that's the idea. It's a short call to get you going. I'm really good at helping people get some ideas on how to get more motivated, how to break through quickly. Oftentimes I can say something to people that makes a big difference just on this first call. But it's not a sales call, so it's more make sure you got the resources you need, and then we go from there. All right. Be sure to set up your strategy call with me. The link's below there. I think it says 15-minute call on it. All right, I think that's it. Thanks for joining us today, and we will do this again soon. All right, bye for now.